All right, first concept. Remember, the extra credit that you'll have on the test tomorrow, eyes up here, will come from this. I'll take this information and create a like one. You answer one of the four, just like I did on that one quiz, and it'll be some kind of explanation kind of thing. All right, check 1 through 4 from that first video, and then 9 through 11 in the extra credit one I'll do in 7th period. The first problem we have here is one. This was real similar to the one we had on our quiz with this stuff. It says a rental car agency charges $29 plus 8 cents a mile, so it'd be 0.08x plus 29. And then another agency charges 18 plus 15% a mile, so $18 plus 15 cents a mile. And we have two equations. This would be kind of good if you could remember last year and tell me what property it is that tells me this. If y equals 0.089x and another y equals 0.15 plus 18, then we can set those two things equal to each other. And that was a property from last year. Does anybody remember that one? How about this? Let's go back and review the three properties in this one that the first one that you did was the reflexive property. And the reflexive property says that something's equal to itself. Then the second one you did was the symmetric property. Like A plus B equals 15 is the same thing as 15 equals A plus B. Then you had a property that said this. If A equals B and B equals C, then we can set up 0.08x plus 29 is equal to 0.15x plus 18. Does anybody remember what that property was? Begins with a T. Transitive. That's right. Transitive property. Okay. The transitive property says that we can set these two things up equal to each other. So now from here, guys, about the only mistake that you can make here is if you, some of you guys made this mistake, you changed that to 8x. As you can't just arbitrarily change that to 8x unless you change this 29 to 2900. So just solve it like it is, guys. So subtract 0.08x. I subtract 0.08x, and that gives me 0.07x equals, move the 18. If I move those that way, then I move these this way, and that gives me 11. And it's 150 something. Somebody with a calculator. What's 11 divided by 07 is, yeah, that's it. Say it again. Yeah, 157.14. I rounded it off. See, it says round your answers to the nearest hundred. So it's 157.14. Questions? Okay, again, guys, this is number 5. 1 through 4 is on the video that I shot this morning. I'll finish these other 3 problems, and then we're going to go to the lab and get on QuizStar. Because I have some stuff on QuizStar where you can practice. Okay, on QuizStar, there's a sheet that has it looks just like this. It's 10 problems. Guys, when you open QuizStar, you're going to look at it, and there's not going to be any questions there. Okay, what there is there's a PDF file in the first question. So by the question number 1, you click on the PDF and you open it up. When we get in the lab in a little bit, if you want to print it, you can go ahead and print it. That will also give you a place to have some extra practice. If there's some of you that missed the first quiz, all it was 2x2 systems. I'll pass back the graphing quiz. There's a graphing quiz on the QuizStar. And then I put a 3x3 one on there just so you guys can practice 3x3s. And let's say you feel comfortable about all of that, then I just put a general quiz of just to show you how to use, or just for you to show me you know how to use Quizstar. So worst case scenario, guys, if you feel good about everything in the chapter and you don't do any of the math related stuff, do the one quiz so I can at least say, okay, everybody's got their first Quizstar grade and at least did something on there. But anyway, choose a method. I think a good method here might be x equals, move the 2y to the other side, 2y plus 5. So obviously, which method am I going to solve this in by? Substitution. Is that the way you have to do it? No, you can just as well use elimination. But I wanted to use substitution just so I could show you here that if you use substitution, make sure you make the distributive property work for you. So negative 2 times that is negative 4y. Negative 2 times that is negative 10. Plus 6y equals negative 9. So this is 2y equals 1. So y is a half. Okay. Take y equals 1/2. Go back up here and plug that number in. So x equals 2 times 1/2 plus 5. And so that 1/2 that I got right there, I plug into the problem, and this gives me 1 plus 5, so x equals 6. I think the solution is 6/2. So guys, take 6/2 and see if that, that doesn't give me the right answer. Did I make a mistake somewhere? Where? Here I divided by 2. What? That's what I got is a half.
So y is 1/2 and you put 2 in the solution.
Here?
In the solution. In the solution.
Oh. Thank you. So 6 minus 2 times a half is 1. So 6 minus 1 is 5. Negative 2 times 6 is negative 12. Plus 3 is negative 9. So 6 comma 1/2 is my correct answer. Again, I'm just showing you a way. Certainly not the only way to do this, but if I take the first equation and multiply it by negative 2, it gives me this, and 3x plus 2y equals negative 1. So I multiplied all of these numbers by negative 2 times 4 gives me negative 8. Negative 2 times y gives me negative 2y, and a negative times a negative is a positive. So 5x equals 1. X is a fifth. Now, some terrible looking answers here. So 3 times a fifth is 3/5 plus 2y equals negative 1. How would you solve the problem 3/5 plus 2y equals negative 1? How would you get rid of that 3/5? Nobody? As you can multiply by 5. 5 is the common denominator, so if I multiply each one of these terms by 5, now I don't have a fraction. So 10y equals negative 8. Y is negative 8/10. It's back there in the back that's talking. Please stop. So if I plug those numbers in, 4 times a fifth is 4/5 plus negative 4. I've made another mistake somewhere. Does everybody see? Negative 2 times 4 is negative 8 minus 2. That gives me positive 2. So negative 5x. So that should be negative 5x right there equals 1. So x is negative 1/5. So I know all of this has to be wrong. So when I plug in negative 1/5, so that gives me negative 3/5 plus 2y equals negative 1. Again, multiply by 5, and the reason I'm choosing 5 is because when I choose 5, it causes the fraction to go away. So 10y equals this time negative 2. So y is negative 2/10, which is negative 1/5. So now I think the answer is negative 1/5, negative 1/5. So let's go back up here and see that those substitute in there. Negative 1/5. So negative 4/5 minus a fifth is negative 1. Negative 3/5 minus 2/5 is negative 5/5. What does negative 5/5 reduce to? Negative 1. So guys, that certainly wasn't on purpose right there. I made an honest mistake. But again, the thing I need you to see is I made an honest mistake right there, but I caught it. So often you guys won't take that extra 5 or 10 seconds that it takes to plug a number in to make sure it solves the system. And then on this one, it's going to be even more. It's going to be even more so important than three equations, 3 unknowns that you plug it into each other. So in looking at this, the way I'm going to do this one is I'm going to take those two right there, and I'm going to add them together. So x plus 2x gives me 3x. 2y plus 3y gives me 5y. And then 8 plus 1 gives me 9. So that's what I did to solve the first equation. Now I need myself a second equation. If I'm going to get myself a second equation, I'm going to have to change this number right here. I'm going to have to change this by multiplying by 2. So 4x plus 6y minus 2z equals 2. So I took every one of those problems and I replaced this equation. So now I'm going to take this one and add them together. So x plus 4x is 5x. Y plus 6y is 7y. My 2 z's cancel out and I get 2. All right, what's the issue now? What's wrong with this problem? Nothing cancels out. So what I have to do is I have to multiply something by a positive and then something by a negative. So 15x plus 25y equals 45. Negative 15x
cancel 4y.
And I don't remember one more that difficult to work. Let me stop right there. I want to figure out what the correct answer to this one is. So let me hold a second here and check something. All right. Turns out, guys, one of the things I told you is I would pick problems that didn't work out like this. The correct answer is -7, 6, and 3. Let's see here. Let's see here if we can see where we got -6 and 3 from. It seems like every problem I'm working here, I'm making a mistake on something, so I probably need to slow down. Again, what I did was I added the first equation and the second equation and the third equation. So x plus 2x is 3x, 2y plus 3y is 5y, and then 8 plus 1 gives me 9. Okay. Then I took x plus y plus 2z equals 5, and I multiplied this bottom equation by 2. That gave me 4x. This gave me 6y. This gave me 2. Here's where my mistake was. So now, when I add those together, that gives me 5x plus 7y equals 7. Let's try again. I use -3 just so the numbers will be smaller. So 15x plus 25y equals 45. And negative 15x minus 35y I got a mistake again.
Did you say last night, Christian?
No kidding.
It's minus 21y.
Where?
It's minus, it's negative and minus 21y.
So -3 times this is -15. -3 times 7 is -21y. And that's -21. So this is 4y now. So y is certainly 6. So at least I've shown you that you need to be able to make sure you don't make any mistakes as you go through. So now I'm going to take y and plug it in 6. So 3x plus 6 times 5 is 30. That's equal to 9. So 3x equals -21. So now x is -7. So now I want to go back to the very original problem and go x, which is -7, plus y, which is 6, plus 2z equals 5. So that's -1, add it to the other side, 2z equals 6, z is 3. And finally, after all that, I get my -7, my 6, and 3. All right, that's 5, 6, 7, and 8.